Hey there. Before you even think about skipping ahead, let me tell you this. The insights you're about to gain could completely change the way you approach disrespectful people. This isn't just another generic self-help video. It's a deep dive into Stoic philosophy, a treasure trove of ancient wisdom that's helped countless people master the art of dealing with life's challenges, including handling those who don't show them respect. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and stick around to the end because each of these 7 ways builds upon the last. By the time we're done, you'll have a toolkit not only to deal with disrespect but to transform your perspective and empower yourself. Trust me, you'll want to see this through. Let's start by addressing the reality of disrespect. We've all been there. Someone talks down to you, ignores your boundaries, or dismisses your efforts. Stings, doesn't it? But here's a truth that the Stoics understood deeply. Disrespect says more about the person giving it than the one receiving it. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This sets the foundation for our first principle. Control your response. When someone disrespects you, your immediate reaction might be anger or frustration. That's natural. But the Stoics teach us that we don't have to act on those impulses. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Take a deep breath. Pause. By controlling your response, you're already taking the upper hand. Disrespect thrives on reaction. When you refuse to give it the fuel of your emotions, you weaken its power over you. For example, think about a colleague who constantly interrupts you in meetings. Instead of snapping back or shutting down, try staying calm and composed. Once the meeting is over, address it directly but respectfully. "I noticed you interrupted me earlier. Is there a reason for that?" This approach not only asserts your boundaries but also puts the ball in their court to explain themselves. Now, let's move on to the second principle. Don't take it personally. Here's the thing about disrespect. It's often not about you at all. It's about the other person's insecurities, frustrations, or ignorance. Marcus Aurelius offers this wisdom. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." By expecting disrespect, you're less likely to be blindsided by it. I once had a friend who would constantly make sarcastic remarks about my career choices. First, it hurt, but then I realized that his comments stemmed from his own dissatisfaction with his job. His disrespect wasn't about me. It was a reflection of his internal struggles. Once I stopped taking it personally, I could respond with empathy rather than resentment. This brings us to the third principle: establish boundaries. Stoicism doesn't teach us to be passive in the face of disrespect. On the contrary, it encourages us to set clear boundaries while maintaining our composure. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." In the same way, if you don't define what is acceptable and unacceptable, people will push the limits. Communicating boundaries doesn't have to be confrontational. Let's say a family member constantly criticizes your choices. You might say, "I value your opinion, but I've noticed your comments often feel critical rather than supportive. I'd appreciate it if we could focus on more constructive conversations." This kind of clear, calm communication sets the tone for how you expect to be treated. But what happens when boundaries are ignored? That's where our fourth principle comes in: choose your battles wisely. Not every act of disrespect requires a response. In fact, some battles are better left unfought. The Stoics believed in conserving energy for things within our control. As Epictetus taught, make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. If you react to every slight, you'll quickly find yourself exhausted and distracted from the things that truly matter. For example, imagine someone making a snide remark about your appearance at a party. Is it worth your time and energy to engage? Probably not. Sometimes the most powerful response is silence. By refusing to validate their behavior with a reaction, you signal that their opinion holds no weight in your life. Save your energy for situations that genuinely impact your well-being or relationships. This leads us naturally to the fifth principle: Respond with kindness when appropriate. Now, this might sound counterintuitive. Why should you be kind to someone who disrespects you? The answer lies in the Stoic principle of rising above. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." When you respond to disrespect with kindness, you maintain your integrity and set a powerful example. Let me share a story. A former coworker of mine was often curt and dismissive, particularly during team meetings. Instead of retaliating or shutting down, I made an effort to treat her with consistent kindness. I'd ask about her day, offer help when needed, and maintain a respectful tone. Over time, her attitude softened. Eventually, she confided that she'd been going through a tough personal situation and didn't know how to handle it. My kindness had shown her a better way to communicate. Of course, there's a balance to this. Kindness doesn't mean tolerating outright abuse, which brings us to the sixth principle. Know when to walk away. Sometimes, the most respectful thing you can do for yourself is to distance yourself from those who refuse to treat you with respect. The Stoics were big on the idea of self-preservation, not just physically but emotionally and mentally. Epictetus put it bluntly, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." Walking away isn't about defeat, it's about protecting your peace. Think about toxic relationships, whether personal or professional. If someone repeatedly disrespects you despite your efforts to address it, it may be time to step back. This doesn't have to be dramatic or confrontational. It can be as simple as limiting your interactions or removing yourself from situations where the disrespect occurs. Finally, we arrive at the seventh and perhaps most transformative principle. Focus on your own growth. The Stoics teach us that adversity, including disrespect, is an opportunity for personal growth. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, every challenge is a chance to strengthen your character and refine your perspective. When you encounter disrespect, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Perhaps it's an opportunity to practice patience, assertiveness, or forgiveness. By shifting your focus from the disrespect itself to your response, you reclaim your power. You're no longer a victim of someone else's behavior, but an active participant in your own growth. Let me share a personal example. Early in my career, I had a manager who rarely acknowledged my contributions. At first, it was demoralizing, but instead of dwelling on the lack of recognition, I decided to use it as motivation. I started keeping a detailed record of my achievements and sought opportunities to showcase my work. Eventually, my efforts paid off, and I gained the respect of others in the organization. That experience taught me resilience and self-reliance, lessons that have stayed with me to this day. To deepen our understanding, let's explore these principles further with examples from daily life and more insights from Stoicism, ensuring this toolkit isn't just theoretical but something you can actively apply. Let's revisit the first principle: control your response. Imagine you're at work, and a colleague dismisses your idea during a meeting. You feel the sting of disrespect. Your instinct might be to lash out or withdraw, but what if instead you paused? Epictetus teaches us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This pause is your moment of power. Decide who you want to be: a calm, composed individual who handles challenges with grace. The Stoics believed that emotions, while natural, should not dictate our actions. By responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, you demonstrate strength. You might calmly say, "I understand your concerns, but I think this idea has potential. Let's discuss it further." This measured response not only preserves your dignity but also forces the other person to reevaluate their behavior. The second principle, don't take it personally, often feels easier said than done. Let's say a stranger cuts you off in traffic, and your initial reaction is anger. You might think, "How dare they disrespect me?" But Marcus Aurelius would advise you to see it differently. He wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. That stranger's actions likely had nothing to do with you. Maybe they were running late, distracted, or just having a bad day. By choosing not to take it personally, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional baggage. Instead of ruminating over the incident, you can refocus your energy on what truly matters. Establishing boundaries is where many people struggle. It's natural to fear confrontation or worry about being perceived as difficult. But as Seneca reminds us, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. Your why is your self-respect and peace of mind, which are worth protecting. Consider a friend who consistently cancels plans at the last minute. Instead of letting resentment build, you might say, "I've noticed you often cancel our plans. It's important to me that our time together is valued. Can we agree on a schedule that works better for both of us?" This approach is assertive but not aggressive, reinforcing your boundaries while maintaining the relationship. The fourth principle, choose your battles wisely, is essential for conserving your mental energy. Seneca offers a timeless reminder. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. In this context, craving more could mean seeking validation or fighting every instance of disrespect, even when it's not worth your time. Picture this. A coworker makes a sarcastic comment during a team lunch. You feel the urge to counter it with an equally sharp retort. But ask yourself, will engaging in this verbal sparring match improve the situation? Often it won't. By letting it slide, you demonstrate maturity and emotional intelligence, showing that you don't need to stoop to their level. Responding with kindness when appropriate doesn't mean being a doormat. It means showing strength through empathy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." By choosing kindness, you not only protect your inner peace but also influence others positively. Imagine a neighbor who often complains about trivial matters. Instead of snapping, you respond calmly. "I hear your concerns, and I'll do my best to address them." Over time, this consistent kindness might soften their attitude. Even if it doesn't, you've upheld your values and maintained your composure. The sixth principle, know when to walk away, is about recognizing when a situation is beyond repair. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Walking away doesn't mean giving up, it means prioritizing your well-being. For instance, consider a toxic workplace where your efforts are constantly undermined. Despite addressing the issues and setting boundaries, the disrespect persists. In such cases, walking away to find a healthier environment is not a failure. It's an act of self-respect and courage. Finally, the seventh principle, focus on your own growth, is where true transformation occurs. The Stoics saw challenges as opportunities to cultivate virtue. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action." Each instance of disrespect is a chance to practice patience, resilience, or forgiveness. Imagine being in a family gathering where an older relative makes critical remarks about your life choices. Instead of engaging in a heated debate, you use the moment to practice restraint. You might calmly say, "I understand your perspective, but I'm confident in the decisions I've made." By doing so, you rise above the negativity, demonstrating maturity and self-assurance. Now, let's tie all of this together. When dealing with people who don't respect you, remember, control your response, don't take it personally, establish boundaries, choose your battles, respond with kindness when appropriate, know when to walk away, and focus on your own growth. These principles, rooted in Stoic philosophy, aren't just tools for managing disrespect, they're guidelines for living a stronger, more centered life. As we conclude, I want to leave you with one last thought from Seneca. As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. The quality of your life isn't determined by the disrespect you face, but by how you choose to handle it. Use these 7 principles as a compass, and you'll navigate even the most challenging interactions with grace and wisdom. Thank you for watching and sticking with me to the end. If you found value in these insights, please consider sharing this video with someone who might benefit. And remember, respect starts with how you treat yourself. Until next time, stay resilient, stay kind, and keep growing.